All right, let's talk about a feeling I bet you know really well, even if you don't have a name for it. It's the key to what we're calling guilt free marketing, which is all about selling comfort instead of conflict. Let's dive in. It's such a familiar feeling, isn't it? You land that big promotion, you book that dream trip, or maybe you just buy something you've wanted forever. And right there, mixed in with all that excitement, is this little nagging voice. That feeling is exactly what we're going to get into today. This isn't just some random fleeting emotion. It's actually a kind of hidden conflict. Think of it like a constant tug of war going on inside our heads between the things we want to do and the things we feel we should be doing. Yeah, it turns out, even when we think we should be 100% happy about something, our brains are just, well, they're way more complicated than that. A totally positive event can still kick up these feelings of anxiety or worry, creating this emotional balancing act that we're not even always aware is happening. Okay, so let's use the Hawaii example from our source material. You are absolutely thrilled, right? Hawaii. But then other thoughts start to creep in. Maybe a little pang of guilt that you couldn't take your parents. You start getting anxious thinking about all the work that's going to be piled up when you get back. And then there's that sense of responsibility, maybe feeling a bit bad for leaving your junior colleagues to pick up the slack. It's a perfect picture of that internal tug of war. So how does this whole internal conflict actually affect us as consumers? Well, it pretty much boils down to this really simple but incredibly powerful dilemma, this battle between fun and guilt. Let's just break these two sides down. On one side, you've got fun. We're talking convenience, ease, excitement. But then on the other side, you've got guilt. And that shows up as feelings of responsibility, obligation, or even just the fear of being judged. And these two sides, they're constantly negotiating with each other every time we have to make a choice. Now here's the trap, especially for marketers. If you only talk about the fun side of things, how easy something is, how exciting it is, you risk completely ignoring the other half of the conversation that's already happening inside the consumer's head. And when you ignore that guilt, you can actually end up making it feel even stronger. And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. Let's look at a really practical case study from our source that shows exactly how this plays out in the real world. Okay, so imagine you're selling an easy-to-make side dish to busy parents. On the surface, this message seems perfect, right? It's all about convenience, saving time, it's speaking directly to that fun side of the equation. But what is it completely missing? Well, it can backfire because it frames the choice as a shortcut, a way to get out of a responsibility. For a parent who feels this obligation to provide home-cooked meals, that message doesn't actually offer relief. Instead, it offers a reason to feel guilty. It accidentally reinforces this fear that they're being lazy by choosing something convenient. So what's the fix? Well, it's not about changing the product at all. It's about changing the story. It's all about reframing the choice so it's not a shortcut to avoid responsibility, but an action that actually supports it. Now check out this brilliant reframe. The product is exactly the same, but the emotional logic is completely different. The focus is no longer on the parent's convenience, it's now squarely on the child's well-being. And that right there is the whole magic trick. By saying for growing children and positioning it as one more dish, the product isn't a replacement for cooking anymore. It's an addition. It's an act of providing more nourishment. It's transformed from a guilt-inducing shortcut into a guilt-free act of care. And this really gets us to the core insight behind this whole approach. It's about marketing with empathy. It's about understanding that internal conflict and actually helping the consumer resolve it. So let's define it. Guilt-free marketing isn't about just piling on more benefits or more hype. It's a much more subtle and honestly a much more powerful strategy. It's focused on finding and removing those emotional barriers, like guilt or anxiety, that stop someone from making a choice they probably already want to make. And this really is the heart of it all. Sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't a lack of desire for the fun part, it's the weight of the guilt part. And if you can relieve that pressure, it can be so much more persuasive than just shouting about another new feature. So why is this so effective? Well, for one, it creates emotional balance. It gets rid of that nagging guilt that can stop a purchase dead in its tracks. And that lets people make a choice with real confidence. Over time, this empathetic approach builds something way more valuable than just a single sale. It builds trust. So this is really the key takeaway. The next time you're writing an email or a social media post, or even just trying to persuade a friend,
Think beyond just the surface level excitement. Put yourself in their shoes and ask that second, much more important question. Does this choice feel emotionally right? Does it help resolve their internal conflict, or does it just add to it?
Because in the end, the most effective messages don't just highlight a benefit, they provide emotional peace of mind. They sell comfort, not conflict. And that is a strategy that connects with people on a much deeper, more human level.